Okay, so on the days that we are open, there's a focaccia special that I start prepping around 10 a.m. and is due to be out of the oven in time for lunch at 11 a.m. We are currently doing 2 sheets of focaccia each day. I make sure that one of the focaccia flavors is vegan. This dough was made last night. As soon as John got here at either 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, he threw them in here to proof. And after a few weeks of trial and error, we found that that tends to work pretty well for us. All right, so I will go grab my ingredients. Or, you know what? I should just take this down there. So first I'm gonna go with our vegan focaccia. I start off by prepping with a generous coating of olive oil. So I've got my trusty squeeze bottle here. I try to get a good amount down the edges in hopes that it'll seep down the sides of the pan. These focaccias have quickly become one of my favorite parts of the days that we're open. It's just a lot of fun to make. It's playing with your food, but with intention. So I'm just kind of coating the top of the dough here first, and once I ensure that everything has got a nice layer of oil on it, now comes the finger dimpling. And I'm going directly down to the base layer of the pan. Since this is such a wet dough, in addition to the oils and the toppings and things on top, it's really good to have really sufficient finger dimpling here for a nice even bake. The last day we were open, this last Wednesday, I did kind of a brunch toad in the hole kind of focaccia where I placed ramekins throughout the dough before I baked it, and then I took the focaccia out midway and then cracked eggs into each of the wells that the ramekins made, and then I topped it with bacon, salt, cheese. It was a big hit. I'm definitely gonna have to do that one again. All right, now that this is nice and oiled, you always gotta add more oil for good measure. You can't skimp on oil for focaccia. It is a cardinal sin. These bubbles are also a real good sign that the focaccia is in a good place. Some of these toppings won't be able to be added on until later, otherwise, because of the heat and the length of time that the focaccia requires to bake. If I were to put candied walnuts on top now, those would char for sure. But I just want to kind of get a little of this prepared. I made these candied walnuts this morning. They've set nicely because I just like to do whatever I can to make sure that the focaccia is ready right at 11. That tends to be when people are congregating and they're hungry. So for our vegan option here, I'm doing rosemary, apples, and the candied walnuts. I also have some simple syrup. And so I might just play on the sweet side here and glaze the top. Nice fall flavors here. I cut these apples while they're relatively thin, they're still pretty hearty. My hopes is that you still get a nice bite out of them. Every focaccia is an experiment. If there's a successful one, I definitely repeat it. But I like to change it up. We're already starting to get a good amount of regulars in here and a good number of people who are excited to come in on their work break for some focaccia. So I like to keep things interesting for everybody. That looks pretty good. And then got some fresh rosemary here. This is looking pretty. Got to make sure I don't neglect the edges. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to end up throwing this in like this, and then taking it out and then brushing it with the maple simple syrup, adding the candied walnuts, and I might add a little bit of flaky sea salt while I'm at it. These are entirely up to my whims. I often will consult John or Dylan or anybody who's in here with me, but it's just kind of what's available next door, which largely depends on the season and my personal whims. So here's our non-vegan version. I've got some barbecue spiced bacon that I'm adding pretty generously on top. And then I will definitely need to switch out my gloves to fish through the jalapenos. I'm hoping that I can melt this bacon fat in time that's sitting over there to kind of drizzle on top. That's the good stuff. That's the best part about bacon. All the flavors in the fat. Gotta make sure no piece goes neglected once again. I think I have used every last bit of bacon I have. All right, gotta make sure to get a good amount of salt on this guy. Salt and fat are very critical to most good foods, I would say. And so we're using these pickled jalapenos from Main Street Harvest. Hartquist Hollow makes incredible pickles. I'm a big fan of this variety, especially the cowboy candy. So it's a little sweet and definitely spicy, a little sour. I do in fact eat it kind of like candy. In addition to the toad in the hole focaccia I mentioned, the other one I've been doing a lot of is a Mediterranean one. And so I would have salt, red onion, green olive, tabbouleh, and baba ganoush drizzled over the top. And so I guess you could think of it less as maybe what you'd expect from a traditional focaccia and more just kind of like a thick crust pizza maybe. I advertise this one as the spicy boy, so I think I have to deliver on the spice. The slices of jalapeno, though, are fairly thin. I would imagine there's also a good amount of sugar in the pickle brine, too, so I'm going to have to keep a mindful, watchful eye on how these behave in the oven. I'm serving the land. Where have I neglected any piece? Every bite needs flavor. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Whenever you're ready to load, John, I've got focaccia ready.